Hello and welcome to the Conscious Leader podcast. I'm Kirsty Waite from Kirsty Waite Business Coaching.
Hi, I'm Dorrianne Casey from DLC Coaching. We've collaborated to deliver a programme we are super passionate about, giving managers and business owners control to inspire, empower and lead with authenticity, ultimately creating happier workplaces.
And each Friday we'll be coming to you with a discussion topic all around conscious leadership. Enjoy this week's episode.
Hi, my name's Dorrianne and I'm from DLC Coaching.
Hi, and I'm Kirsty Waite from Kirsty Waite Business Coaching, and thank you for joining us this week on our weekly topic of resilience. We do have to say we are juggling the school holidays and working, so you may see a small child running around at some point.
So, we're just going to work with it, aren't we?
We are. Bear with us.
Okay, so Kirsty, what is resilience to you, or what does resilience mean to you?
Good question, isn't it? Because we always hear about how resilience is, we need resilience and it's such a key attribute to people in business, but what actually is it? And to me, it's the ability to be able to recover from something and the time that it takes you to do that. And I think having the flexibility and ability to flex around the difficulties you face, and I think being able to maintain the operations of the business while you adapt quickly to different situations is, for me, in a nutshell, what resilience means in a business environment. What about you? What's your thoughts on it?
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think the word resilience, though, for me sometimes can conjure up, especially at the moment, a little bit of anxiety. And it's about the kind of the battle of the fittest, and it really kind of understanding that. But I think for me, resilience is not even necessarily about actually managing to kind of overcome obstacles with speed and maybe grace. It's actually, I think it's a little bit more than that as well.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about the word resilience, because sometimes it can be seen as the fittest, the hardest people, and then it becomes a bit of a competitive word. Does that make sense? Like the ones that are the most able to deal with really tough situations and push through and power on through are the ones that come out the winners because they're the most resilient. But it doesn't necessarily mean that, does it, all the time? I think when we talk about resilience in a business and leadership perspective, we talk about it from a healthy mindset towards resilience and being able to have compassion and empathy. And a key one for me is not being fixed to something. So once we become fixed and emotionally attached to something, we then become that needs to happen. So when that doesn't happen, and that's when we really struggle to deal with it, because we've got so fixated on this outcome or this thing happening that when the environment changes or something happens external that we can't control, people really struggle with it because they're so fixated on this outcome. Whereas I feel like a real key thing for me is to not become attached to something happening. And you could really want it and it's really desirable and it would really help your business. But if it doesn't happen, instead of getting stuck in that situation and dwelling on it, you're thinking, you're being creative and thinking, well, what can I do to move this forward? What's the best outcome that I can get from this situation now? Rather than sat in a place of probably disappointment and overwhelm that you're not achieving that end goal that you originally were fixed on.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It's that emotional connection that we often can put to tasks, especially, and I think it's so easy to do that, to become emotionally attached, because we're so involved in things often, especially at work, and especially when we're dealing with people as well. We're human at the end of the day, and I think that's that can also drive through empathy and all of those things. But like you've mentioned, It's about really understanding the situation and then thinking, okay, if I can't control this, if it's totally out of my control, what can I do to maybe problem solve this, and deal with this situation without allowing my own emotions to overrun it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that one.
And I think, well, here's a question. So what barriers are there to being resilient? Because, we all for encouraging resilience and supporting it and building it up, but what are the barriers in organisations and within teams that stop people being resilient?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And actually, there's an article that we've posted on a Tuesday that really highlights this. And I think it's from Forbes, and I think they brought this up. They've done a really good job in actually bringing up quite a few barriers.
Yeah.
Let me just go through a couple here for you. So, I think the ones that really kind of the ones that really kind of highlighted for me were after a difficult conversation or conflict, you ruminate about it. So it's that I think we talk about the ego in our webinar actually.
Yeah.
And how constantly dwelling on things and really kind of, again, talking about emotions as well, allowing them to really overtake and overpower your mindset on actually maybe the task in hand, can really be disabling and prevent you from being resilient in the workplace, can really hold you back. And I thought that was a really good one. How about you? Are there any ones that really stood out for you?
For me, I think to be fully resilient, like I mentioned before, I feel like it's a healthy mindset. And to have a healthy mindset, I feel like that needs to be supported in the workplace. And it's definitely the responsibility, I feel, of the leadership of the organisation to create that environment where people can get support on that and get support on feeling, I suppose, able to be vulnerable enough to learn and to develop and to not be emotionally attached to things and not be so fixed on the outcome, because that can sometimes raise fear. People could be on a agenda for self-protection. There's so many different things that come up if that isn't supported from a higher level. So I feel like there's a whole culture piece around resilience and encouraging it and supporting it in the organisation in a healthy mindset.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And like you actually mentioned before, it definitely comes from the top. Yeah. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've certainly been in situations where I've kind of spoken out about something that I feel really strongly about.
Yeah.
And because I don't have the power in order to control, like in order for that to kind of be delivered or actioned, or I've been put in a situation where I've almost like been put back in my box. it kind of puts me in a situation where actually, okay, so I'm not going to discuss this any further, which I think can be a little bit dangerous. I think, again, it's actually about how you maybe deliver that, absolutely. But I also believe that actually if we don't create these environments, this space within a workplace that allow people to kind of talk up and be open, I think you're going to prevent people from allowing themselves to be resilient as well. Yeah. And that really, like you said, it's a culture piece. It definitely comes from the top, and it's definitely filtered down in that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when we talk about how building resilient leaders, and I know we wrote an article on Thursday and we put some key attributes and behaviours in there, and we took some really great information from the Organisation of International Resilience about what attributes organisations have that have sustained real tough and uncertain times. So from my perspective, I think one key one that come out of there is be clear on the vision and the purpose, and think of that long term, because that really helps with the growth mindset rather than the fixed mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also dwelling on certain things as well. Well, actually, this really goes back to my point before, and your point before actually is about really kind of, again, like you've mentioned, having that open mindset, and not fixating on what could or couldn't have been, or what you really want here and now. It's about your journey and how you get there as well. I think we were mentioning actually in our conversations before about the journey, and it's not necessarily how it's important that we focus on that goal, but actually not to stay fixated on it and emotionally attached. Again, we're all coming back to the same kind of results here, really.
So I think we could quite easily summarize that what we've talked about is resilience is in being focused, not fixed, not being emotionally attached to something.
Absolutely.
Not staying in that state of dwell. So don't get out of that state as quick as you can. And that comes around to self-awareness, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I also think another point that we really need to kind of mention here is the support with emotional overload as well. So I believe that's kind of our role as leaders as well. Is to and managers is to recognise when people are in kind of that emotional overload. So I think it's all well and good in us saying, okay, manage your emotions. But you know what, when you're in that state of overwhelm, sometimes it's just really hard to get out of it. It's recognising that in our teams as leaders and supporting that process. Listening is pretty key in this as well.
And it goes back to the same thing, it's which what we always talk about and passionate about is creating healthy, open cultures. And it's creating an environment where people can adapt, and it's a collaborative environment where people can really be themselves and feel comfortable being themselves and supported. And that's where people are going to build their resilience up and not be fearful of change in direction or doing something that isn't attached to the outcome.
Absolutely. And I think for those managers that actually feel that controlling their environment gets them their results, it may do, but I truly believe it's maybe short term. It depends on the type of teams you want around you. Now, if you really want to grow and build your business, I really believe, and we believe as well as a team, that it's all about giving people the opportunity to kind of speak up. You never know as a leader, you know, your team may have bigger, better ideas than you. Pretty much more than likely. Give them that space to help kind of drive your aim to your overall outcome.
If we can relate this back to the current environment. So if we take a year ago, we went through a pandemic. How many organizations had to change? They had to be resilient. They had to, unfortunately, not everyone's come out the other side of that. And if we have an organization where we create openness, we allow people to think creatively and bring ideas to the table, it helps us during those tough times, because people, like you say, in our teams may have some amazing ideas, but unless we create that environment where they feel safe to share them, they're going to just sit on them, and then we're not going to be able to adapt the organization. We're not going to be able to survive through all the uncertainty. And I think the last 18 months by far demonstrated how resilient we need to be and how open we need to be to creating these collaborative environments in our workspace.
Absolutely. It makes people feel included. It creates an inclusive environment. And you know what, actually, one thing that you will all learn from a pandemic anyway is actually how many people want to support and help. And I mean, that's proven in, you know, the amount of people that have gone out and supported people that need that help, you know, within communities and things like that. It's almost like a human innateness for us to want to do that. So as leaders, you know, make people feel a part of that process rather than excluded from it as well. And again, that builds resilience as a team.
Yeah, because there's no point one person being resilient in the whole team or business. It needs to be a joint effort, and like you say, it's so key to take people on that journey with the business. And people want to grow with the business. They want to, you know, go through those tough times and support the business and come out the other end, and it just makes for a much happier, more fulfilled work environment, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so a really good discussion there. Some key takeaway points for everyone, which I think are really good. Have you got anything else to add, Dorrianne, or do you think we've covered everything?
No, I think we've covered everything. Do check out our LinkedIn page. It's DK Coaching. Yeah. We post everything. We post something every day, and we have there's always something different that we post, and it's all around a subject matter. So this week was all about resilience, and you'll find either some blogs or some articles that we've posted as well.
Yeah, so please get involved, comment on anything, let us know what your thoughts are. If there's anything that you'd like to add, please let us know. We would love to hear from you. And we've managed to record it without being interrupted.
No, I was on edge a bit.
Right. Okay, come back next week and we'll see you for I think we're back onto emotional intelligence next week. So please join us next week, and we'd love to see you. Okay, bye.
Thank you for joining us this week. We hope you enjoyed the discussion.
If you're interested in learning more about the Conscious Leadership Programme, reach out to myself, Kirsty, or Dorrianne via LinkedIn and find out more. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a good week.